And we're back on another exciting episode of Starfleet Boy, where we have a casual and informal conversation about Star Trek. I totally planned.
I really didn't know where you were going with that. I was like, what the hell's going on?
Every now and then I do an episode relevant introduction. I felt that I was saving that one. I was so excited.
The Starfleet Boy, y'all.
This is Starfleet Boy, y'all. That's a little more East Coast, but yeah, I guess y'all's used to be in the Wild West. We've been chatting offline for like a few minutes, so we're doing the hi for the audience now. Hello.
Hey,
I'm joined by Braxton. Welcome back. It's been a minute, a hot minute.
Oh, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed our previous discussion. So, I'm super looking forward to today.
Excellent. So am I. And Trek on the Tube. Welcome back to it's like your 80th episode.
This is my Saturday. This is my Saturday ritual at this point. That's what I do. I watch an episode of TNG and then talk about it.
Exactly. Today we are focused on TNG, and we are talking about Star Trek: The Next Generation's 8th episode of season 6, A Fistful of Datas. Directed by Patrick Stewart
himself.
Mm-hmm.
Himself, and written by Robert Hewitt Wolf and Company. Excellent. Who wants to do the summary? No one? Anyone?
No
Bueller? Come on. Okay, I'll do the summary. All right, so we'll go right into the summary. By the way, I'm recovering from Drunk Space Nine. I did an episode of Drunk Space Nine, so if I'm a little off, audience and you guys, it's because I'm recovering from that. But I am having a little bit of the hair of the dog that bit me, so it's not that bad.
Dude, what are you drinking? Wine?
Cheers. No, this is the White Walker.
Mm.
It was the commemorative Johnny Walker for Game of Thrones, but it doesn't taste as good. You have to chill it.
Yeah.
Funny enough,
huh.
It tastes better when it's chilled. So that's what this is.
Okay, very cool.
I didn't know they did that.
Oh wow! Both of you guys watched Game of Thrones, right?
No.
Well.
Oh, you didn't watch it. Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
It's over now.
Well, then that's what that was a reference to. Braxton was Game of Thrones.
Okay.
I didn't know they did a limited. I ate the limited edition Game of Thrones Oreos that they had.
Oh.
Yeah, they had like a matte black packaging, and I thought I'd eat one for like every person that died. But I got so frustrated with the last season that I just ate the whole packet.
Oh man. So okay, I'll do the summary. It's a slightly drunken summary. Here we go. Captain Picard is trying really hard to enjoy some downtime, and he's continuing his self lesson journey with the Resican flute that he found in Inner Light that was gifted to him by the Catanians. And so he's trying to do this, and he keeps getting interrupted. The first interruption is Data and Geordi, who's growing a slight beard. Like he's starting to grow a beard, so that was an interesting look for Geordi. And they say that in an they figured out a way that in an emergency situation, they can connect Data to the ship's computer to restore functions if the ship's computer were to be damaged. So he's like a backup computer, which is kind of awesome. Like, oh, just to connect Data to the ship. And so they wanted the captain's permission to do it. So he's like, okay, fine, yes, okay, go. So then they leave, and then Dr. Crusher, he tries to play his flute again, and then Dr. Crusher interrupts him, and she wants him to act in a play, and he thinks it's the lead, and he's like, oh, I don't have any time for this. And then she's like, no, actually, it's just the part of the butler. You only have 2 lines. And then he looks insulted, and he's like, get out of my quarters, Beverly. I'll let you know.
Not quite. He's not quite like that, but
that's the vibe I got. This is, summaries for me are very interpretive. You try to be very like my summaries are interpretive. I'm sorry. I can't help myself. get back in your lane. No, I'm just teasing. All right, so he tries to play the flute again, and he gets interrupted one more time by Worf, and Worf is like coming at him with like all kinds of like work related materials, and Picard's just like looking at him confused, like, can't this wait till next week? We're getting new recruits, etc., etc. And Worf doesn't exactly, like say anything, but he's just like, well, I'm trying to fill up this time with work. And he's like, Mr. Worf, enjoy yourself. We hardly ever have downtime. Go do something else. So then the scene ends finally, and it transitions to Worf coming into his quarters, and Alexander's all excited. He's like, did you get permission? And Worf looks super pissed, and he's like, yes, I got the day off. So he's gonna go into the holodeck and to the ancient West with Alexander and do basically a cowboy versus not cowboy. It's more like sheriff versus bad guy scenario, and it's delightful. I mean, I played those games when I was a kid. It was great. So they go to do that. Meanwhile, the Data hooking up to the ship experiment is happening, and all of a sudden there's like a power surge. Data looks like he had a seizure, and something happens, and over the course of the next few scenes, we start to see that the ship's having problems, like the lines for the play that Beverly's practicing with the crew. Some of the crew turn out to be Data's cat poem from a couple of episodes ago, and then Data's trying to make other things are happening, like Picard's trying to hear his classical composition, and then another one comes on, the Slavonic dances instead of the Mozart. And so all these things start happening, and they figure out, oh, something got mixed up, and part of Data's memory bank or Data's like programming got fused with the Enterprise and vice versa. And so they're trying to reverse this. Meanwhile, in the holodeck, everything seems fine. The program's actually which is designed by Barclay, they state, which I think is hilarious that Commander Barclay like took the time to like help Alexander with this program. And then of course he inserts a little perviness into it, which is very very Barclay. And Worf's like, oh, I have to speak to Commander Barclay about putting holes in a child's program. But say lovey. Anyway, so the program's too easy, so Alexander gets frustrated and asks the computer to raise the bar, and so when it reboots, it's a little bit more realistic, and Worf makes an arrest by this unruly guy in a bar, and it turns out that guy's father is like some big shot, like bad guy, and he's gonna come and break him out, and so Worf's in big trouble. Anyways, Alexander's sent to the bank to get to get money for some. What was the money for? For some reason, it was like to buy weapons. Or I don't know what they were gonna do with the money, but
they just wanted to pay Deanna, I think.
Oh, that's what it was. That's right. Oh, I didn't even mention Deanna. Thank you. You saved my summary. It's going to exclude her completely.
Oh, she's amazing.
No, I would have gotten to her eventually. I would have realized. Yeah, Deanna's also playing along, and she's great as this kind of like mysterious lone gunsman, or gunswoman, I should say, guns person. And so, yeah, they have to pay. So he's going to get the money, but then he gets kidnapped and taken into a mine. And we find out that the bad guy, the father of the guy in jail who's going to come break him out, looks just like Data. And at first you know better, but they think Data's playing along or whatever. But it turns out, actually, no, the ship's computer is creating a Data, and he has the same abilities, etc., as Data. So like it gets really dangerous. He meets up with Worf. He actually shoots Worf, hurts him, and then Troy and Worf have to come up with a plan. And meanwhile, all the other characters are slowly turning into Datas, and it's great because Brent Spiner gets to show how great an actor he is by doing all these. Anyways, so they figure that like if they resolve the story, the holodeck program will end on its own, and that's like the best course of action. Meanwhile, on the ship, they figured out how to reverse the process. So they're like basically erasing portions of Data's data memory banks, as well as the ship's computer. It's going to take like 2 hours for it to fully resolve. so that's going on, and that's in the can. And on the holodeck, Worf figures out a way to create a shield, basically from like just like his badge and he MacGyvers it, which is pretty cool. And then so they go and they face the main data from the Fistful, and there's a shootout, and nothing happens because the bullets just bounce off the shields. And then Worf finally shows his grace and is a good example to Alexander, and instead of shooting the bad guy, he says, "Get the hell out of my town. I never want to see your face here again." He didn't say the hell part, but whatever. And the program doesn't end, and it turns out that that it was programmed so that Worf had to hook up with the madam who ran the inn. And so the hug at the end, which is Data, it's very funny. He's dressed as this like buxom proprietor, and she comes up and hugs Worf, and then the program finally ends. And then Bob's your uncle, no harm done, no foul, very easygoing episode. Worf ends up back in his quarters. Poor Alexander's exhausted. He's falling asleep, and he thinks, "Oh man, Dad, I'm sorry that shit was so lame." And Worf is like, "The town of Deadwood may once again face danger. It will need its sheriff and its deputy." And then he goes in front of the mirror, puts the hat on, and does a little shooting action. And the best part, my favorite part, the Enterprise rides off into the sunset at the end. That's it. What? It's great. It's great.
Good recap.
That's it. How's that? Was it a good recap?
I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
Hit all the points.
Yes. Now we have nothing to talk about.
Oh, yes, we do.
What did you guys think?
So I really, I liked this episode. This was a small episode. It's not, really important to the arc of the show, I guess, but maybe a little bit because Data's, trying to, serve as like, a backup, and then things go crazy. I like this episode. My favorite part was Data in drag at the at the end. Also, a part that I related to is like in the very beginning when Captain Picard just cannot get a second of peace to do anything. I think about being a supervisor at my job, and then every time I think about it, I'm like, oh, sometimes I have bad days where like I don't really want to be talked to, But as the captain, you kind of can't really have those bad days.
I don't know. He was pretty grumpy by the time Worf came in. I feel like he was actually yelling. He was definitely not having the best day. That's interesting. I think that's I never thought of that perspective before, but like, you can't, and actually being a captain, it's like, really, you're right. You have to be always ready for whatever.
You're always on.
You're always on. It's true. But he was trying really hard to have his downtime. He was definitely giving it his all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always talking about how I want to run Star Trek. Just imagine what running Star Trek truly is like. Imagine that. Imagine being the showrunner.
Yeah,
you have to deal with everyone, and then multiple shows now. It must be horrible.
If you ever run Star Trek, you have to have all of us as your like board of directors or committee, because I feel like your cannon knife is too it's too heavy. It cuts very deep. It cuts it clean. It's like there's no room for error. Episode number 7, season 2. Cut from canon.
Something else.
I wouldn't do that. I would only cut one episode from canon. Come on.
Which episode? Just out of curiosity.
The one with Tom Paris goes whooped in Voyager.
Where he turns into that like, creature. Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
What about you, Braxton? If you could cut one episode of Star Trek that you've seen,
Threshold. That's what it's called. There it is.
Oh, Threshold, that you've seen. If you could just cut it out of canon, make it not exist, what would it be?
Oh gosh. Right now I can't. Oh! I know which one.
We all have one.
The TNG episode where they're dealing with the aliens that seem like they're Africans.
Oh yeah,
Oh my
yeah,
god!
Like
yes,
I
can.
wish,
Tasha Yar having to fight or whatever it is for her
yeah,
freedom.
I
That's
really wish
terrible.
that episode never premiered.
That's like a very common sentiment. Like lots of people wish that episode, including the people who like wrote it. And the director totally like changed their idea. It was
It's
like
legitimately confusing that someone thought it was a good idea to like
Yeah.
relate. Like, how did no one during the production of this thing?
I
go,
can see it because I'm 40 years old, so I grew up in that like weird period where like open racism was still like around, and then it's still around now.
Well,
but I mean,
this was trying to disguise
it felt
itself
like
as
it was
not,
on TV. It felt like it was on TV a lot more. Like you had shows like that were just like they like created like the worst stereotypes, like like on TV, and like it was like a lot of like racist, blatantly racist, not just against blacks, but like against Indian people, against like anyone that was different from like white American. So there were a lot of stereotypes going on. And then I saw it transform through my life, like where I feel like entertainment today is it still fails. Like, TNG, I think it's not bad that like over the course of 7 seasons, they only messed up a couple times with stereotypes and things like that. Overall, they're pretty good. But like, nowadays, I think shows really nail it in terms of like representation, and like they try anyways. It's better. It feels better. What do you guys? Well, you guys are both so young.
I think
you don't remember these dark days.
There's this thing that Enterprise did. They went back and re-explored the Orion slave girls from the original series, and they kind of flipped it on us and made it so that it's the Orion slave girls are actually not the slaves; they're the ones that are in charge.
Oh,
they're like running everything, and so it's the males that are kind of like stupid in their species and what have you. And I really like that they managed to kind of like it's all like a plot or a trap to pretend like they're pretending to be slave girls so that they can trap other species and steal their take or whatever. It's all well thought out, and I thought it was a nice way of kind of fixing the problem that they had. I would be interested to see if like a modern show could do that with that episode of TNG, if they could like re-explore that planet.
That should be the first episode of Picard. You should go.
I think that maybe that's not a good idea.
Lutan, I've been thinking about you for 30 years.
Really? Oh God.
That's hilarious. Something that I really liked about Captain Picard's opening scene in A Fistful of Datas is he was like, when Beverly was talking to him, he was like, oh, I'm not much of an actor. Gosh, Patrick Stewart is such a great actor.
That was really ironic.
What did you guys think of Geordi's light beard?
I don't know what to think about it.
I share Data's assessment where it's like sometimes you don't know how something is going to be until it's finished.
Yeah.
I'm from a military family. I think that military men should always be clean shaven. Star Trek, yeah. I think military men should just be clean shaven.
Nice.
I have actually not been a fan of Riker's beard.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're not one that likes Riker's beard. Come on.
Nope, don't like
Starfleet. But Starfleet's not there's a military arm of Starfleet, but Starfleet is not a military group. I'll remind you, Braxton.
So I also
I think it is though, isn't it? Starfleet's like the military branch of the Federation, isn't it?
Starfleet is like it's an overarching authority over space travel, and there's everything from scientific explorations to militaristic expeditions or whatever you want to call them. And the Enterprise falls within the voyage of a scientific kind of scientific/diplomatic mission. And so it's kind of like, yes, they're all militarily trained, like they're all trained to use weapons. They have weapons aboard the Enterprise, but technically
there's structure and hierarchy going on. And because someone dies, it'll be all official, ceremonial, whatever.
Right. So those same structures are existing in corporate America. They just don't call you captain. It's like general manager. You know what I mean? Like it's not like it's not like a structure that's like unique to the military.
The captain of your building.
Right. But since you are militaristically trained, you may as well hold the ranks since you've earned them, right? So why
Fair
not?
enough.
Yeah.
So the thing
Just-
is, you know, I think that Starfleet is totally the military. So for instance,
you're like, no.
for instance,
Wrong, sir.
for instance, you know, the army does a lot more than just defend the nation and attack people. You know, they also have a corps of engineers, and they're out there and they're, consulting and building bridges and things to do with waterways. I don't know. I think that the military is big and really diverse in the things that they do. Like, you know, they're, you know, kind of really self-sustaining, you know. I think that Starfleet has replaced the Army and the Navy and the Marines, and it's just, you know,
it's
Starfleet.
Space Force.
I think it is Space Force. Oh my gosh, I hope not. Why didn't they take that opportunity to call it Starfleet? Why is it called Space Force? It's not fair.
Well, I mean, to be fair, Mr. President believes that the moon is part of Mars. So, I mean, at this point, of course, he's going to invent his own name for the fleet.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it makes sense. We have the Air Force, so we're going to have the Space Force. But
yeah, it makes sense. It sounds good. Space Force sounds cool. I want to see that movie.
Braxton, what I will say is that it is definitely not, as far as I can tell from my knowledge, it's not clear one way or the other, so it is open to interpretation. The closest we get, I think, to thinking of Starfleet as a military, though, just from evidentiary perspective, would be in the 2009 Star Trek, where Captain Pike refers to Starfleet as a peacekeeping armada, and just makes it sound like peacekeeper is just kind of like a euphemism for like a military, right? So a peacekeeping force, a peacekeeping armada. So I would say you definitely have some weight in your corner.
Kirk says he's a soldier at some point in the original series.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I don't think I always thought he thought of himself as an explorer. But if we could find that reference, it'd be great, because it would definitely put an end to that.
I'll try and find it. But I think at some point he's like discussing someone. He says, "I'm not a diplomat. I'm a soldier," or something like that. I just follow orders or whatever it is.
I can't do Kirk. I'm not a diplomat. I'm a soldier. God damn it!
The hell is that?
Klingon bastards! You killed my son. Klingon bastards.
So something that I found interesting. So, like you said, Captain Picard also directed this episode. So I found it interesting that he was just in the little part at the beginning, and he didn't direct himself through the rest of it.
It makes sense, right? Because like it must be on those schedules. Like, it must be hard to act and direct. But yeah, he felt very present though, despite that.
Was he wearing his little short nightie? Yeah. No, like, you know, he has that kind of purplish little nightie that's like kind of short. Yeah, so I was wondering.
Do you think he'll wear it in do you think he'll wear it in the Picard series?
The costume design surely changed. Do you think they still have the triangle cushions? I
think it best resembles a kimono, and if you guys have never tried on kimonos, I highly recommend it.
Okay.
It's a night kimono though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like
short.
Evening. It's short. It's because you don't want your legs to be cold, to be warm, right? You want that like nice breeze across your legs at night.
And I feel like if he was wearing his little nightie and people were coming in, coworkers were coming in, I feel like that'd be very, very inappropriate.
He doesn't mind. He's done it before. And then did you see the outfit he wore on Risa? It was very revealing. I don't think Captain Picard has like many British people and French people, I don't think he has a hang up over his body.
people might like stop interrupting him as much though, if they know that he's dressed in his short kimono.
I mean, he has every right to play his flute in his short kimono, guys.
Like, I mean, of course.
He can play his flute in a short kimono on his downtime as much as he wants to. You know, like that's just totally his right. It's everyone's right to play your flute in your short kimono.
Also,
We should do a future episode of Starfleet Boy in short kimonos. I propose that happen.
I think I'll be sick that day.
You know, and I love every scene that Beverly Crusher is in. I love the character of Dr. Crusher. I think that actress is strikingly beautiful, and I absolutely love her scenes. So
yeah, she's great.
Always great seeing her.
I felt the same way about Deanna in this episode. I love Deanna, and I feel like this is, I don't know, this is one of those episodes where they just let Marina Sirtis do whatever she wanted. She was like, just have fun with it, you know. And so she was just loving it. It was amazing. She's such a badass too.
She is. Did you guys like the scene where Geordi had Data's head kind of peeled open and was working on him? What'd you guys think of that scene?
Yeah, I totally love that kind of stuff. I think this episode's just another great example of like a world building episode. Like I think that like it does a great job of like just like what's going on that's not like big, like a phaser battle, or I mean I didn't say this in summary, but they're on their way to meet the this ship that it's an O-Berth class. So it was nice to see that ship as well, the one from Star Trek that was introduced in Star Trek 3. And like it was just like an average day, but I mean something happened, but it wasn't a big deal, and I kind of love that. And then we got to learn so much about the world. I love yeah, she was directing a play, which was awesome. Like it was she was definitely not in it. She was like telling them, she was giving direction. Like Riker had to, and it looked like they'd been like practicing for hours. Like you know, but what did you guys think of like the civilian clothing in that scene? Like they were all dressed, you know, for that play for whatever period. You know, it must have been a modern play, I imagine, because they look like the same clothes the civilians wear in TNG all the time.
It could be a play from like another planet. It doesn't necessarily have to be like a human play. So
That's
maybe
true.
they're wearing clothes of whatever planet that is from or whatever system that's from.
That's true. I like the way that the mystery, it was a light mystery. It wasn't like there weren't like high stakes necessarily, like but the mystery unfolded with like things like, you know, the replicators replicating like 20 versions of Spot's food supplement, you know, cat food. Yeah, he's like all that kind of stuff. It was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.
Talking about that scene where Data's Geordi's working on Data's brain. I love it. I put it on my notes. He says, "No, are you just another biological system?"
Oh, that little moment.
And I think that's just so well written, because at the end of the day, we consider him sentient. Why? Just because it's pretty hard to explain. But then from his standpoint, it's the same thing. He must consider like we're sentient, but a dog isn't, or whatever.
Right. Yeah. He's like, yeah, it's true. It's a very good point. That was a sweet scene.
The positronic brain is so fascinating. So many mysteries.
Yeah. I want one. Don't you guys want a positronic brain? Like, I would love one.
I mean, I feel like there's only been one stable positronic brain, right? There's been two others that were created, but they were unstable, and so they don't exist anymore. Lal and Data's brother, right?
Well, B4 was fixed.
B4.
Data fixed B4. Oh, you're thinking of Lore. Lore screwed himself up. Lore screwed himself up because he put like too many emotion. Like he had his own emotion chip, and then he took Data's emotion chip, his original emotion chip, and then.
No, wait a minute. I don't think so. I think he put the emotion chip in his brain, but it wasn't made for him. It was made for Data, because Data was like the finished version. So that screwed him up. But it does look like a very complicated thing to accomplish, like a stable positronic brain.
Yep. Absolutely. That episode where Data had the daughter and the people from Starfleet Medical came and tried to seize her. Oh my gosh, that episode is one of my favorites. I absolutely love that episode so much.
You cut out for me. Which episode was that? Sorry.
The episode where where Data created the female robot. No, she wasn't female.
Oh,
She
Lol, his daughter. That one.
yeah, the law episode. I thought that was
Yeah,
so.
that's a great episode. That's a wonderful episode. I always cry in that episode at the end when she's dying. It's terrible.
When his hands are working so fast.
I know. Oh my gosh, it's such a good scene. This episode is great because it kind of recalls past episodes and kind of as you're journeying through Star Trek for the first time, or even if you've watched it again, it kind of like brings up these memories of like older episodes, and it's kind of nice to see that. It's just I like this episode a lot. Talking about the ancient West, what did you guys think of how that was, and like what did you think of the whole story, and like do you think that did you guys hear the thunder that time? It's crazy out there. I told Braxton this, but yeah, well, if the internet goes out here, just hang in there. The show must go on. It'll put me back on like after the internet comes back on. So you're gonna have to run the show, guys.
You should have your phone on standby just in case.
It's true. Were you guys ever a fan of Westerns? Did you watch Westerns? Either of you guys?
No.
Western films?
Well, that was well before our time, technically. But,
well, it was also well before my time, but Western movies exist.
Oh, come on.
Like I didn't live in the Wild West. By the way, I love that we call it the Old West. That's like a term used to describe that era in history, in American history specifically. And I like that in the show they call it the Ancient West, which it makes sense. It's like, many hundreds of years later. So yeah, it was kind of cool. But so no Western exposure at all?
I love it.
Back to the Future 3? Did you at least see Back to the Future 3?
Come on, of course.
Well, there's
probably
that's where they go. I think Back to the Future 3 is fun because it depicts the Old West in a really kind of fun way. I think that's one of my favorite depictions of going back to the Old West.
I like Westworld at the moment. I've never seen the original movie. And I haven't read the book, but I've seen the 2 seasons that they've got on HBO and Westworld, and this is probably the closest we'll ever get to like a Westworld Star Trek crossover, because it's all about like a theme park where they have like basically hosts, is what they call them. They're like basically androids.
The holodecks are exactly
in the Old West.
It's true, except it's like they don't have holodeck technology, so they create a huge park.
Yeah, but I mean they have android hosts, and in this episode we get like plenty of androids, basically.
Right, but
similar.
Holographic hosts are similar to android hosts. It's true. It's very interesting.
So why did you say that you were surprised that Mr. Barclay helped Alexander on this holodeck program? Dude, Mr. Barclay loves...
I know, he does.
He makes the most outrageous programs.
I don't know that I was surprised in like a way of like, oh, I didn't see that coming. I was just like more surprised that like I think I was just like, how does Barkley have the time to do all these things? And it was cool how he was present in the episode without him, the actor, being there. I like that that's another delightful thing about the episode, is that they like mention Barkley, and like you can't help but think as you're watching it, like, and you're seeing the holographic creations, like, oh, that has like, what was he thinking when he did that? Like, it's like...
So do you think they designed this program from scratch, or do you think there's like a template, a base template for like Old West or Ancient West story, and then kind of you tweak it to whatever your design, whatever you want it to be?
100% that it's easy to design, I think, in this future, because, for example, the Enterprise would have like every Western novel, it would have all the Western films, right? So the computer itself would already have a huge database of visuals that you could choose from. So like you could design it however you could walk in and you could be like, computer, create a generic Western setting.
And then you change the building or change whatever character to suit
whatever you want to suit the situation. It's pretty cool.
Add a prostitute. That's Barkley.
Computer, add a lady of the night. I think that's how he would say it.
A lady of the night. Ooh.
A lady of the night. I don't think Reginald would be disrespectful to sex workers. He would say a lady of the night. Reg. Computer, Seal holodeck program. I wish to test out the Lady of the Night.
Hmm.
Terrible. He probably meant to delete her, but left her in.
I feel like there's never any funny business going on in the holodecks on the Enterprise.
There's tons of funny business
I
going on.
don't think so. In Deep Space 9, yes. In Deep Space 9, yes, because Quark always has to clean those goddamn holosuites.
No, I
But-
promise you, there's like gnarly things going on in the holodecks.
You
There's like
reckon?
BDSM. There's everything you can imagine.
So
is
you
happening in
know
the
something's going on when it's locked.
when it's locked. Exactly.
When it's not locked, it's
Override.
fine. You just walk in. But when it's locked,
Yeah.
it's like,
No. Okay, I'll leave this person alone. Whoever's in here.
Don't go to holodeck
It would
3.
be naive. It would be naive to say that no funny business is happening in the holodecks. I have to call you out on that one.
This is the Enterprise, though. This is the flagship of the Federation.
You need a happy crew, man. You can't have like a repressed, like sexually tension riddled crew. You need them to. They got to go and get their rocks off somewhere. It's just part of it. You're going on these 5-year mission shots. It's not like it's you can't do that to people.
Dude, that's hilarious.
Fair enough.
I definitely don't want to serve on Sean's ship.
Oh, come on.
There will be no funny business on board my ship.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
All photographic holodeck programs are deleted.
Oh, you think there's like a parental lock on my holodeck programs?
Oh, there's definitely a parental lock. I mean, come on.
Do you have the password? Try Canon.
What do you think the legal age of holodeck sex would be in the future if you were like the governing body? What would you set it at?
Oh my god, this is too much for me. I don't know. I can't go there.
I would set it at 18. Just
I still don't know what's the legal age for synthahol.
It's 21. Well, no, in the future, there's no legal age for synthahol because it doesn't get you drunk.
Well, it does. They say
you
get
can
you drunk,
shake it
but you
off.
can shake it off. So, like, are
Yeah.
you allowed to have it or not? Or are you legally obliged to like shake it off every drink or whatever?
France, you can drink synthahol at 12. In the United States, you can drink synthahol at 21. I think it depends where you're from.
And they don't have synthahol on Kronos.
No,
Just blood wine.
children
blood
just drink blood wine. Was there so okay? So not having seen westerns, I guess you guys did you like? I felt a great deal of nostalgia. I love westerns. I grew up watching like the Clint Eastwood movies and like the spaghetti westerns, like the good,
I've
the
seen
bad.
a few. I've seen Doc West.
I don't even know that one. But there's also Tombstone, which is a great western. There's a lot of great films set in that time period. But like, I often wonder, as like, you know, living in the society that we do, like I often think like it would be really exciting to live in that time period. And I thought that this episode kind of did a great job of capturing the romance of that. I thought that like, even though the sets weren't the best they could be, like they were pretty much like flat sets that you could tell there was nothing behind them. It just still like felt real, very real to me. And I liked all those scenes a lot. What did you guys think?
Very cool.
No, it was great. I mean, you can feel like it feels like a set. You can see that there's no like entire city or whatever going on in the background, but it doesn't matter because for the context of the episode, it's fine. You're in a holodeck, so you don't expect to see necessarily just huge landscapes, right?
That's true. You know what I recommend if you have never done this, if you ever have the opportunity, is to go to a ghost town in the American West.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really neat experience. Like there's still towns that are
really
totally
just
abandoned.
sitting there because I know that Deadwood is a real town that exists.
Right.
I
But
researched
now
this.
most of those old Western towns are now major cities, like or like places that have prospered. But a few of them are just abandoned, but they still exist. It's really exciting. They're like considered historical. Like,
So are these protected sites? Like, do they have like tourism?
Because the West was the Old West was such a huge part of our history because it was like American expansion westward, and the gold rush, and it kind of is what made this country a superpower, is having access to all these resources and and stuff like that. And it's also not a great time, but you know, you were more likely to die. But if you ever get a chance to watch the movie Far and Away, that's another great one. I guess I'm casually interested in this time period. I didn't realize that. I
You're
know
a Western fan.
I am a Western fan.
You need to go to Laramie, Wyoming. I went to Laramie
Oh
Wyoming
no!
a couple of years ago, and it looks just like that. You know.
Really?
Yeah. You're like riding along the road, and you'll see a tumbleweed. You know, just blow past you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it still looks like that. I guess they take measures to preserve those older buildings and kind of stay with that kind of that kind of Western style. So yeah, in Laramie, a lot of those buildings still kind of look that style. Instead of there being dirt roads, they're now paved, but that's how it looks.
It's true. Laramie, what would happen in Laramie? Why was it famous a few years ago?
I forget his name, something Shepard, but there was Matthew Shepard was killed.
Oh, was that where Matthew Shepard was killed?
But Laramie actually is a big town. There's a university that's there. I think that Laramie probably is like one of their bigger cities there. It's not a small place.
Now that that's brought up, I would like to say that like that's like a really tragic recent event, and it's Pride Month, and so it's something that's pretty relevant. So check out Matthew Shepard if you don't know who he is, and you can see that atrocious things are still happening to not just homosexuals, but because it's Pride Month, we're focused on homosexuals, and so you can go and read about that. It was very sad. I remember when that happened on the news, I was like pretty devastated. I actually like, and he was like just a young person who was so full of life, and it was just the worst tragedy. Anyhow, so why were you in Laramie, Washington? In Wyoming, rather. If you don't mind telling the whole audience why you were there.
So I went to Burning Man a few years ago,
wow.
And so that was just one of the towns that we stopped in. We went through shopping there, had some food, didn't stay overnight, just kind of passed through.
Burning Man, wow.
Yeah. Didn't know I was so bohemian, dude.
We're discovering interesting things about Braxton. That's very cool. If I ever went to Burning Man, I have to complete this one outfit, and then I can consider going to Burning Man. But I'd like to acquire the Wrath of Khan field jacket that Kirk and crew are wearing, and that would be like with the appropriate badge. That would be the centerpiece of my Burning Man personality.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. Now you know. So if you ever see me at Burning Man, you'll know. If you ever see that guy at Burning Man, you'll know it's me. You also know it's me. But I would wear like the glasses Khan wore probably too, with the slit. It's like that slit, and then I would have like some kind of like armor. My character would be like a Starfleet, explorer, retired, gone rogue, that kind of guy. Cool. I think that covers everything. Do you guys have any more notes from this episode?
Have you seen True Grit? This is completely because I saw True Grit. It's like a modern Western.
No.
Okay. It has everyone in it. It's from the Coen brothers.
Oh, cool.
So there's like Matt Damon, Josh Brolin, Jeff Bridges.
When did that one come out?
I don't know. Wait a minute. It says 2010. So it's pretty recent. But it's a weird kind of Western because there's no like real heroes or good guys that's gonna save the day. It's like everyone's kind of gray. And I think maybe that's pretty much how it was back in the day. Everyone was kind of morally compromised, I suppose. But no, it was an interesting movie.
Very cool.
Yeah, I think reality, I mean, although it was definitely more dangerous in the Wild West and the Old West, obviously there were more just average people around who were just trying to live a life slowly but surely.
It's so hard. God.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
It seems hard to us, but don't you think that, like, I guess for back then, like, they were living, life. I mean, you kind of had like the first sparks of like modern civilization with like actual attention to like infrastructure and towns and like it was hard by our standards, but by their standards they might have been like life's actually getting better every day. It could have been
I think
like
that medically,
yeah.
it must have been pretty insane though, because I mean, you could die from basically anything, couldn't you, back then?
Oh yeah.
They didn't have that
Right.
much like medical experience.
300 years from now, we're gonna be looked
They're
at
gonna say
as
the same thing. I know.
it's gonna be like the midi
Star Trek 4.
Dr.
McCoy gets all angry.
Endoscopic examination is unnecessary in these cases. My God, man. Step aside and let me put away your butcher knives. Put away your butcher knives and let me heal this man.
Oh, something else that I thought was funny in the episode. So Geordi and Data and Captain Picard and Riker were talking, and and Data was like, "Oh, something, y'all," and "Oh, I reckon," and they were like, "Y'all." I reckon. Like I thought that was really funny.
The way he walks out of the room too and spits in the plant.
Oh, yeah.
It's hilarious. I love Deanna she's like blowing the cigarette smoke in Worf's face, and he's all confused, like what is this?
It is pretty funny. There's a lot of humor in this episode, and
It's great. It's a lighthearted episode, but then like the kind of sci-fi concept that they advance is interesting as well. The way that like Data disrupts all of the programs, and probably that's why it's probably why we never hear of it again. Because ultimately, he never does become the backup system for the Enterprise, and I think this maybe have put them off a bit.
Because they're like, this cannot work.
Yeah,
this probably won't work.
To be honest, it does seem like a bit of a dangerous thing as well. Because I mean, if Data ever gets compromised by someone or something, then you basically have like control of the Enterprise,
which
as well.
he has, by the way, which is totally he can already take over the ship really easily, by the way, because he has been compromised.
He's a very scary element to have on your crew. I mean.
So two things that I found problematic in this episode. The first one was that when Worf got shot, it seemed like Counselor Troy just kind of like bandaged it up, but it didn't seem like it was a thing after at all.
Yeah, he still had the thing, but there's they say, like, I don't remember where I read this, but they say that Klingons are actually not anymore. They don't have anything, like any brutal physical strength beyond what a really strong human could probably achieve as well. But like Worf is pretty strong. Like that guy just breaks the chair and he doesn't even flinch at all. Like he just kind of stands there, turns around slowly, and just kind of like knocks him or whatever.
That scene made my daughter cry, by the way.
Oh,
she turns around, she watches the screen, like she looks at the screen sometimes, mostly when there's music. She loves all the theme songs and what have you. So we always leave like the Deep Space Nine or the Voyager openings because she listens to them. She stops drinking and everything, but she turned around because she was, I don't know, something interested her, and then Worf gets hit with the chair and she just started crying immediately. She didn't like the violence.
So good. What a sweet person.
I also was disturbed by when bad guy Data kidnapped Alexander and he put his hand over his mouth. I was like, oh no, how could you do that to a child?
So brutal.
Yeah.
Brent Spiner is crazy that he could do all those performances in this episode, including messed up Data.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was able to do all that. It was a pretty nice showcase of his abilities. I think it's like it is funny to think of Brent Spiner as a character actor, because I don't think of Data as, I take Data more seriously. Like typically when you think of a character actor, it's all fun and tongue in cheek, but you don't ever think about how like Data is a character who's like played by a character actor, so he's like very distinct in character, but we take him very seriously. Like it works really well.
He honestly is, I think, one of the most successful characters in Star Trek, because I mean, for me personally, I forget there's a human actor behind it each time.
Yeah.
Like when I'm watching Saru, or I don't know, 7 of 9, or the Doctor from Voyager, you subconsciously the human. Data you forget. You're like Brent Spiner. Well, this is an android on screen, right? I don't know. It's weird. Maybe it's because I feel like an android's a more realistic or achievable goal than maybe a holographic character or a Borg or a Kelpian or whatever. It feels closer to home maybe, but I keep on forgetting that he's human basically.
He's such a great actor.
He is.
And he's very active on Twitter. I really enjoy his tweets. He's very cool.
His altercations with Gary.
Yeah. I would take any interaction from Brent Spiner, even if it's a little mean.
It's just playful.
Totally.
That was a really good thing. I didn't see those, but I definitely agree that those are definitely kind of like moments where the show kind of veers off a little bit. Yeah. I love it. All right, I think it's time to rate this episode, guys. Like I've exhausted all my notes.
Oh, we did not talk about Data in Drag. Data in Drag was awesome, dude. I loved it, dude. He had the plunging neckline, and he had obviously like some kind of like plastic.
Oh yeah, plastic fake skin here, but
dude, that looked hilarious. Like he like descended the steps, dude, and I was like, dude, this is everything, dude. I loved it.
And we like yesterday I just watched I forget what the episode is, but the episode of Deep Space Nine where Quark goes drag as well. Quark dresses up as like they have to sex change Quark into a female Ferengi.
Dude, I'm gonna research that, dude. I remember that episode, but dude, I feel like I told you to watch it now.
Oh, you do? It's amazing. But this is different because they do like a complete sex change. Bashir does like a sex change on him, or at least a physical one.
Yeah.
A visual one, and then he has to convince like the CEO of Sluggo Cola or something that females can be good businesswomen. It's just hilarious. And then Quark's all trying to make his voice kind of softer, and he's trying to sit properly. Rom knows way too much about being a woman, and so his wife's a bit worried. It's an amazing episode. I loved it.
Dude, that's awesome.
My friend Brian Groover is famous for posting a video called "The Best Drag Queen Entrance Ever." Have you guys seen that? Okay, so all you have to do is just search YouTube for "The Best Drag Queen Entrance Ever," and you don't have to do it now. So audience, go check that out as well. But it's one of the most delightful videos. He got 1.9 million views. He posted it 10 years ago. And I think that's the only thing he's famous for. No, I'm just kidding. He's probably famous for a lot of things. So shout outs to you, Brian. But check that out.
Dude, this sounds absolutely fascinating. Okay, I'm gonna check it out later.
Is that him filming someone, or is that him?
I don't know the whole story. I don't know if he reposts. It looks older than him, so it might have been VHS. Oh, you guys are watching it?
All right, this is a long video. We have to watch it later, obviously.
Yeah.
Just the beginning. You'll just see the entrance. Just watch the entrance. It's about to happen. Audience, watch along with us.
I like the Superman costume, dude.
It's so good. Anyways, if you've never been to a drag show, audience, I highly recommend you go. It's the best time ever.
Oh my God! Wow! Yes, dude. Wow.
This Starfleet boy just turned into a live reaction video.
Oh my God!
Best drag queen ever.
I was absolutely not expecting that.
Yes.
Wow.
This is. I just created my first ever reaction video. That's so great. We'll have to do more of this. All right, I think this is a good place to.
You'll get sued by the Fine Brothers. Be careful.
I think it's a good time to transition into our ratings. I'll go first as always. I give this episode. I was gonna give it a 9.5. I give it a 10. I give it a 10 because it's delightful. It was. I can't really find much wrong with it. This discussion was delightful. I felt like we all really enjoyed this episode and we're having a lot of fun talking about it. So to me, that gives this episode a 10.
I give this episode a 7. And the reason I say 7 is because it's a small episode, but I thought it was well done. I think that it touched on responsibility by the captain in the early parts, and then it touched on friendship, between Geordi and Data. Family with Alexander and Worf. Friendship, or maybe romantic friendship also. With Count Troy jumping in.
Oh, she's been showing up a lot lately. Where
Mhm.
is? You're right. That's true.
Mhm. Yep. And then it ended in drag. So,
The best way to end an episode is anything in life should end in drag. I agree. Cheers to, cheers to that, guys.
All right, I give it 8 drag queen entrances out of 10.
Wow.
I think it's a real fun episode, and you're right. I didn't think about this, but it does kind of like, because I know a lot of people get mad about the Deanna Wolf thing, but it's being set up for quite a while, even if they're not doing it on purpose. But they do have a very close relationship.
We need to talk about bad Star Trek romances. I can think of like 3 or 4 right now from between like all the shows. I feel like it'd make for a really interesting 30-minute conversation.
I agree. Do you guys want to do a special Starfleet Boy episode? We'll stop this one.
Spin-off.
Enough? Or do you want to add it? Do you guys want to? Is it something we could do quickly? Like, do you want to add it as an addendum to this episode?
Maybe we should save it for another day.
All right, I agree. I like that idea though. Very cool.
Yeah.
It'll give me time to make a list.
You're gonna rank them.
Of course. I haven't seen all the romances. Like I know that Paris and B'Elanna and all the. I'm so looking forward
That's
to.
a good one.
That's a good one too.
Cool. All right, gentlemen. Oh wait, anything you want to promote before we go? Any shout outs or anything like that?
Not me.
Drag queens.
All right.
Shout outs to drag queens. Yes.
Season 11 of Drag Race was so good. You guys and everybody else should watch it. It was so good.
I will. I have to check out Drag Race. I love RuPaul, so I gotta catch up on that. That'll be my summer. I think that'll be my summer show to just have fun with. So that's cool.
Dude, I love it when drag queens do death drops and splits, dude. Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
Thank you for joining us, audience. Live long and prosper, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Hey, see you guys.